Welcome to this new project. In this one we're going to simulate in Unity that wooden game, I don't know if you remember it, where you have a ball bearing which goes through a maze and you have to turn the knobs to tilt the maze to get the ball to its destination. So in this one we're going to be using Unity to create the actual game, and we're going to be using Blender to create the model tray to support our maze. So the first thing you need to do is to create a Unity project. So this one is in 3D. I've called it Labyrinth. You don't get any extra points for spelling it correctly. So start the project going and then create these basic folders here. So we've got one for scenes, which has got an underscore. We've got one for models, one for scripts. We might need to add some more folders there in the later on, but in the meantime that will do us. Okay, once you've created your project, keep it open and start Blender. Now this is Blender. It's a 3D modeling application which creates meshes. So this is our basic default mesh, which is a simple cube. And this is going to form the basis of our tray. Now the first thing, of course, it's a bit cubey. We want it to be more trayy. So I want to expand the directions in this way. So that's the x-axis, and this one, which is the y-axis. Now in Blender there are lots and lots of keyboard shortcuts. I'm not very good at keyboard shortcuts myself, and I prefer to use menus, but there are certain ones that you really do need to use. The first one is to get the properties area. So as long as your pointer is somewhere on this screen, if you press N, you get the properties. Now I want to scale up this cube on the X and the Y axis to make it about 10 times bigger. So here we've got the scale. So on the y-axis, I'm going to put that to 10, and on the x-axis, I haven't selected it. Sorry, we haven't got any. I've got the lamp selected at the moment, which is no good at all. Another peculiarity with Blender is you select things with the right mouse button by default. You can change this if you want, but there we go. And you can see the object that has been selected because it has a sort of orange glow to it. So this is the thing I'm going to scale up. So 10 on the x-axis and 10 on the y-axis. Okay, so there's my tray. Now, there are quite a few modes in Blender. At the moment we're in object mode, so I want to edit this, and there's an edit mode here. Right, so this is our object in edit mode. You should see that it's stippled all over, which means that things have been selected. And I can deselect things. Here's another one of those keyboard shortcuts with A. Now what I want to do is divide this top surface into lots of little squares. Now, which means I have to select that top surface. A mesh like this is made up of 3 different types of objects. We've got the vertices, so by default it's on vertex, and if I select that, there's the vertex selected. Now, a cuboid like this has 8 vertices. I don't want to select those. The next one is for edges. You can use the left button here, and I can use that to select edges, again by clicking the right button. Right, so now we select edges. But in this case, I want to select this surface. So the other one here is for face selection. Choose that, and there it's that. There's another button here which is important one to know about. With this one you can select vertices, edges or faces on the other side at the same time if this is on. We don't want it on at the moment, it's off. So I have now selected this top surface. Along here we've got the tools. What I want to do is to subdivide that top surface. So we go subdivide, and we're now in quarters. I can do that again. The quarters are subdivided. So now I've got 4 squares along each side. Subdivide it again, 8, and I think once more, which gives us 16 boxes along each side. And this is going to be the basis of our maze. Now it's going to be helpful now if we view this from the top. So we've got a view option down here, and we'll view from the top. And we can view it in different ways, perspective or orthographic. In this case it's probably better to do it as an orthographic view. There we go. Now all of these squares are going to be well, some of the squares are going to be raised to make the walls, and some of them are going to remain as they are. So the first thing is I'm going to deselect the whole lot. Now you can select these squares by right clicking on the top surface, and then you can hold the shift key and click more. Okay, so you can multiple select that way. There is another way of multiple selecting which is a bit easier eventually, but a bit more difficult to set up. Another keyboard shortcut, C. So if I select C, this gives us multiple selection. Now things are selected in the area of influence of that circle, which is too big for our squares. So I want to reduce that. The way to do that is to press down the scroll wheel and then scroll it forward to make that area of influence smaller. Sorry, being clumsy here. There we go. So it's minimum now. So now I can click on different ones without having to hold the shift. I can even run my mouse over them. So I'm just holding the left button down and going up. If you do accidentally select one, it's not a problem. Hold the shift key and click on it, and you can deselect. So I'm going to go all the way round. So that's going to be the edge of my tray. Oops, this one. So I misclicked. So shift click to remove it, and then I can do the same thing here. This is going to take some time, so I'm going to pause, and we'll come back to this when I've completed my maze. Okay, I've completed my pathway, so you should be able to see the track going through here. So there should be just one way of getting the ball around the path. So choose that. It's the beginning, that's the end. Okay, it doesn't have to look like this, of course. You can devise it exactly as you wish. Right, once you've selected the squares you want, we're still in this C mode, so if you just press enter, and you should be out of it then. Yeah, okay, it's gone. Right, so those are the walls, but I need to go back to perspective view. Right, so I'm just using the scroll bar here. Right, so we've got selected areas. What I need to do now is to extrude them up. Okay, here's another keyboard shortcut, E. So E for extrude, which is a fairly easy one to remember. So I'm pressing E, and I start to build up walls. Now, notice that blue line which shows it's locked to the Z-axis, which is fine. Right, we don't want the walls to be too big. That's about right. So click, and they're extruded. I can deselect them now. So there's our maze. I probably don't want this big base part at the bottom here, so I'm going to select the bottom. And I'm just going to push it up. So I'm just using the arrow keys there. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going back to object mode. There's our tray. Right, what we do next is simplicity itself. We just save it into that folder we created. So if we put file, save as. Right, so if we start with documents, and then if you know where you've saved your Unity project, which is in Labyrinth. Here's my assets folder. There's the models, and I'm going to save it as tray. Press enter, and that adds on the blend, and then save as a Blender file. Okay, and we should find in our models folder, if we go back to Unity. It's just importing the assets. There's my tray. Okay, next time we'll put it into the scene and do something with it.